Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Guys, the show that recognizes being able to afford healthcare is like pulling teeth. I'm Matt,
I'm Brian.
and we are talking about one of the most depressing episodes of Black Mirror. And that's saying something. Brian, you haven't watched a lot of Black Mirror, right?
I have watched this episode.
That's There you go. This I feel like is a really good gateway episode for you to watch. I mean, there none of the Black Mirror episodes until this final season had ever been like really connected. They finally had an actual honest to god sequel to an episode this season, but every other one is on its own. However, when people are like, "Hey, you should watch Black Mirror," the very first episode of Black Mirror involves the Prime Minister of London being held hostage, and or no, he's not hostage. One of the Queen's daughters or daughter-in-law or something is held hostage, and so in order to keep her alive, the Prime Minister has to commit unspeakable acts with a pig on
Oh,
live TV, broadcast to the entire nation. So people, when they're like, "Hey, you should watch Black Mirror," and then someone doesn't give them that caveat, and they go into the first episode blind, they're like, "Why did you have me watch this disgusting, perverted show?"
I feel like that. I mean, they ended up being successful, and I know the show's won some awards, but you think you wouldn't start with your first episode being one that could offend like an entire group of people?
No, no. That season has one of their favorite because that was only 3 episodes in the first season, and it has this episode called I think it's 10,000 credits or something like that, and it's kind of giving satire on not satire but commenting on like American Idol and reality shows and that sort of behavior and what contestants go through. And that one was one of the best Black Mirror episodes. A lot of people have ranked that as one of their highest. So season one has a good one, but starting on number one, ooh, oofda.
Yeah, and this one is interesting because I mean, especially Chris O'Dowd, I've never seen in like a serious role before this, and it shows he could pull it off. In the beginning, he's a little bit more goofy, like rom com, and
Yeah,
then it goes downhill really quickly.
yeah, and so we're not going to do this episode like how we've done some of these others, like, hey, when we watch an episode then we kind of go scene by scene. We're going to give some broad strokes, we're going to talk about specific parts, but it feels like it's disingenuous to do like the scene by scene by scene. It wouldn't work as well with this. So with that, that's a really good comment, and kind of want to ask kind of overall impressions of this episode.
This one did really well at like making you feel like the desperation, because I
Yeah,
think we've all been in not this situation, but situations where you have a subscription or something, and then it's like, well, if you pay a little more, you pay a little more, and usually at a certain point you're like, screw it, I'll just delete it or whatever. But in this case, you can't do that because it's she dies.
yeah.
So
It
it's yeah,
good.
it takes like something relatable, and it like makes it life or death and makes it desperate if you really feel for the characters and you're along for the journey, but in a really messed up, twisted way.
Yeah, and they do exactly what they mean to do with their writing. This episode was nominated for an Emmy for its writing. I don't believe it won, but was nominated, as well as Rashida Jones. She was also nominated for her acting. Yeah, both of those nominations, and the writing is top notch, and
Mm-hmm.
also the performances, like you said, and it's really does a great job of making of setting out what it tries to do, of making you feel at the very beginning when you're introduced to these characters. You talked about kind of that goofiness, and there's the optimism of the relationship, and it's not an optimism that you see is a little like tropey in other things where it's like, oh, this perfect relationship, and look, it's in the morning and they've got the covers over their head and there's this white light behind them, and all their sheets are white, and it's just this picturesque, everything's beautiful. It's like, no, there's a reality to these characters. They're
Mm-hmm.
very grounded, but yet they still are clearly in love, and they clearly are doing well together, and so they have their rough around their edges things, but they care about each other. Even their stupid anniversary tradition that they do of
Yeah.
going to this terrible place, eating food that they don't like, they're doing it together and they're celebrating that they get to do that together. And it makes them easy to root for.
Mhm.
And then, as you said, things spiral quickly. And so it hurts you as it goes on. It creates that emotional response as you're watching it.
Yeah. And they did a really good job at making them, especially Rashida Jones, looking really rough. Because, like, it was still her, but, like, it's just, like, the rundown, you can tell, like, hasn't showered, matted hair. Like, I swear they made her look more wrinkled than she's, like, not Ann Perkins in this. She's looking really raggedy, and it gets worse as you go. And same with Chris O'Dowd as well.
Yeah, just the emotional toll of that. So you kind of, to that point, and something that you said earlier about that subscription thing, I think there's two different themes, and you can pull either one out of this. I don't know if the writers intended both, but there's commentary on both the state of healthcare, and there's commentary on the subscription model. And so combining those two is really effective, because that subscription model, like 10 years ago, I would say, was the golden age of subscription, right? Probably putting it around, maybe I would say, like season 2 of Stranger Things, because that was when it was still fresh enough that you weren't oversaturated, but you were starting to explore what can a streaming model do. And so there's a lot of people on Netflix. They weren't spending more than they were bringing in at that point. And they had a couple things in the pipelines, and they were showing, hey, we can create quality TV. And you had that for 4 or 5 years, and streaming models were really good, and there was a good time you had with that. But then we hit 2020, or just right before that, and we see all these other companies are like, I have to get my streaming model out, like Disney Plus getting ready for it, and HBO Max, and everything was like, we've got to have our own streaming service. And then, of course, COVID hits, and people are locked indoors and like, well, now we have to push it out, and now we have to really push. This is our content, and it became much more of a battle. But the revenue wasn't there. And so now we're seeing these subscription models don't quite work. Disney Plus is losing money, but guess what? They're under the banner of Disney, so Disney's just fine. So they're able to weather this storm for whoever knows how long. But we're seeing these articles about how subscription services are a bad business model. HBO Max is under the WB thing, and now WB had to sell their company because they were making bad business decisions, and in part was HBO Max. So these companies are getting greedier, but at the same time, it is to cover these costs, because the subscription model just doesn't work. It doesn't work. As us TV guys, we're declaring here and now, in the year of 2026, subscription model doesn't work. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm declaring that for both of us.
No, and you hit the nail on the head. Like, I remember, like 10 years ago, I said about then, everything was on Netflix because Netflix was the only serious one in the game. And now, and then everything else split. Like, Netflix had Marvel and some Disney and a little bit of everything. Whereas now you get complete. Like, if there is a movie or a show you're thinking of, it's on one of like these like 7 streaming sites. But it's not as centralized as it used to be.
Yeah. Are you paying $200 a month for your subscription services? Because if not, you're going to miss stuff.
Exactly.
And so, we do see those price, and Black Mirror is a Netflix show. It is created for Netflix. So for a Netflix show to have commentary about subscription models and how helpless we feel, because like, well, how else are you going to watch the content you want to watch? And so it's not life or death, of course, but it's accelerating that to a point where the greed of subscription companies matched with it's only business model of some HMOs and health insurance creates a frightening possibility that, thank God, we're not in this situation. But can we really say that we would never have a situation like this if a company was able to create a subscription service for life?
Oh, I mean, absolutely they would. I mean, you want to think that people have enough humanity, and I think a lot of people do, but all it takes is a few people in power with enough money and power, and things can go down south. Go south quickly.
I mean, and we're not going to get political but I think
No.
we should bring up a little bit with health insurance because that is where we are with that. There's
Mhm.
problems with health insurance, and
Oh, absolutely.
however you think the solution is on either side, there are problems with where our health insurance is now. And my big problem, my big complaint, and I'm sure a lot of people's complaint is that insurance is such a widely accepted scam. You know, it's
Yes.
your doctor has to call some person who doesn't even know you and probably doesn't even know medicine to approve if they can offer you something or not. And even then, hotels, they're or not hotels, hospitals. Sorry, hospitals, they're in league with these insurance companies where they're like, hey, if you come into our office and you don't have insurance and you need a Tylenol, we're going to sell you one Tylenol and we're going to charge you $100 for it or some
Yeah.
crazy markup for that. But then they go to the insurance when we have insurance, like, okay, I gave them one Tylenol for their visit, and we would typically charge them 100, and we're going to write that we charge it 100, and we're going to write it off that way. But because we're friends in our backdoor dealings, we're going to give it to you for you pay us like five. And so that's why we can get away with that. Or I don't know the exact numbers, obviously,
Yeah.
but they give such massive breaks to the insurance companies because they want you to go through these insurance companies because that's what keeps everything moving. And healthcare should not be that way. I don't care
No,
who you are, it shouldn't be that way.
it really shouldn't. And like, I'm not sure how it, I mean, it might be different for you because you have 4 kids, but like, I'm the only one on my insurance. And so like, I never hit my deductible in the year. Whereas like, if you hit, it's like a lot of times if you hit that number, then everything else for the rest of the year is way more affordable and expensive or covered. But a lot of people, like if you're like me, I'm the only one on mine. I don't typically, have $2,000 of medical expenses in a year. So it's really not doing me any good.
Well, you're not living dangerously enough. I've said that for years, Brian. Get a skateboard, man. Don't wear a helmet.
I love how your first go-to is skateboard, not motorcycle or. I mean, granted, I would get injured on a skateboard. You're right about that, but you wouldn't go like motorcycle or skydiving.
Well, those are expensive. You start small. You're gonna need the money for your insurance. So just do the skateboard, man. What is that? $20?
I don't know. I've never bought a skateboard in my life.
Skateboarders out there like $20. Like, maybe for one of those ones you control with your fingers.
All right. Where did we leave off with Black Mirror?
We left off with some of the themes and kind of what these are saying. And so, it's really great where it gets you on its side of you feeling the frustration. Because, like, again, another thing that you said earlier is that we all know what it is to get kind of bamboozled by a business organization, either through raising their prices unexpectedly or the fine print we didn't read or whatever. And so it just makes it that much more frustrating when we see someone doing that when a life is on the line.
Yeah. So we should say, if you haven't watched it, the basic premise is Rashida Jones and Chris O'Dowd. I forget what are their character names?
Amanda and I want to say Mike.
Yes,
It's Mike.
Amanda and Mike. They're a couple. Like, it starts out normal. They're trying to have a baby. They're both working. And what happens to her? It's a headache at first with her.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking it's a tumor. That's what it kind of
Okay.
seems like. It's a brain tumor that is essentially inoperable. If they remove it, because she had been getting these headaches,
Yeah.
and so it had gotten big enough that if they remove it, it would leave too big of a hole in the brain. It wouldn't, it would kill her.
And she's like unresponsive, and he's basically told she's probably not going to wake up, and then that there's this experimental surgery, which is basically like uploading her brain to the cloud essentially, or putting electronic receivers in her brain.
Yeah.
And so then this thing basically she's like a device on Wi-Fi. She has to be within a certain range or she goes offline and essentially dies. Mm-hmm. And it starts out fine, like, oh yeah, cool, as long as we pay. It starts out at $300 a month, and they're like, that's steep, but manageable. We can do that. That's cool. And then so they're all happy they can live their life. And then they're going on a trip I forget where, not even a long trip. And as soon as they pass by the county lines, it's as if the service just got cut off and she just like powers down.
Yeah.
And they realize, and then oh yeah, and then they go back, and this is where the swindling starts. I think her name is Gail or something like that. Gaynor.
Yep.
Is like their representative. And she's like, oh yeah, you have a very small package, but we're rearranged. You have a small range where you can go. We're upgrading things. And if you go up to premium, which is not $500, $500 more. So it's $800 a month. Then you can go on all these places and things are so awesome and it's so great. And they're like, we can't do that. We'll stick with that. And then it's like being on house arrest in their county.
Yep.
And right now they're bummed, but at this point it's still manageable, right? It's not catastrophic until she starts blacking out and blurting out advertisements, which is really where I think is when it starts getting really more like eerie and horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, between that and then we have to make you sleep an extra amount at night.
Yeah.
And so because they need to be able to afford this, Mike is working the extra shifts. And so he's waking up earlier or he's going, leaving earlier in the day and he's coming home later. So he has less time that he's spending with Amanda. Yeah. And so we don't see a lot because they kind of they cover about 3 years of time in this 1 hour episode. And so they do a lot of like these quick cuts to show time passing. And we see it through makeup, like you said, of how they're making them look more run down and ragged and tired throughout the episode.
Yeah.
And so he's missing that. He gets the ads and he gets that. And so then the ad problem comes up with the school because she's a teacher. Yeah. And so she's now advertising to her students. And like, this can't happen. You can't keep doing this. You've got to cut off the ads because some of them are things that teachers can't talk about in school. She accidentally gives an ad for Christian-based
counseling
in a secular environment. They're like, you can't do that. You can't say that to a kid. And so she has to upgrade to the no ad service, which is that extra $500 or whatever it was.
And every time they go in, there's also multiple times they go in to talk to Gaynor, and it's almost robotic. She's always listening to them, but she's got like the customer service voice and making it seem awesome. Like, yeah, your ads are going to be tailored to what you're talking about, so that everything should seem seamless. And it's like, we know that it's not, and you know that she has to know that it's not, but it just shows she is the face of this company does no wrong. Even though she doesn't say those words, she's saying that with her meaning, and they're just completely chained to it. Early on, I kind of predicted where this was going to end up going.
Yeah. And so then there is the final break for them of where they get to is that there's multiple ads, there's multiple tiers that they get, and they finally unveil this other tier that's like the luxury version. And in that luxury version, like, you can control your feelings too. So you can, like, if you're stressed, you can turn up the calmness on your thing. If you want to experience more pleasure from just the like food or the way water drinks taste or physical relations, all of that, you can turn that up to the maximum setting. And so you can do that, but it provides those stimulus from other people. And so when she's in a lower tier, it's actually like pulling from her brains for bandwidth for other people. So now it's more actively robbing her, even while she sleeps. And her rest, even if she's sleeping 16 hours a day, her rest doesn't give her actual rest because it's pulling out of her brain as she's sleeping, or in sleep mode, as they say.
Yeah, basically she doesn't even get rest because she's not really resting. They say that she's giving back to the cloud or whatever they say, and it's just messed up is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
then on the meanwhile, we have Mike trying to figure out how to pay for things, and they introduce this other thing too to help. Obviously, we talked about him getting overtime and extra shifts and stuff like that, so that was helping for that first part. But then he has to go online because this is one of the only things, and it's a demented version of OnlyFans is the way I'm going to put it, where instead of like, pornographic and sexual content, it's humiliating, debasing content. And so he goes on and like people pay him money to do things like drink his own urine and stuff like, or like put his tongue in a mouse trap, things like that.
Yeah.
And so he starts doing that to get more money to be able to afford a good life for them.
And if you say this was introduced by one of his coworkers, who's kind of a jerk, who's like on his break was watching these videos and paying people to do this stuff. And so when he starts doing this, he has a mask on. He has like a Batman style top of your head mask. And then he's like, no, I'm not going to take off a mask. I'm not going to reveal who I am until someone offers him $500 to take his mask off. And then, of course, he gets to work next day, and a screenshot is put up on the bulletin board of him, so he knows that his coworker has found him out.
Yeah. Was it Chad was his name or something like that?
I thought it was Jose.
No, it was like a normal, like, I don't want to say a jerk name. We have Chad. So it's like, what's wrong with my name? That's my Chad impression.
Your name sucks, Chad.
Chad's like, I know, man.
He goes and confronts Chad Jose, and then whatever his name is. And it sounds like I shouldn't laugh because this is a really intense scene. And he like starts like actually beating him and then intimidating him to the point where he jumps in front of this, like, is it a steamroller that like steams, like basically crushes his legs?
Yeah, he backs up so he's not like gonna get hit by him, but he kind of trips over his feet, and so he falls over right in front of that big truck, whatever construction thing, vehicle. And we're so good with words, guys. We are professional wordsmiths here.
Yeah, we talk very, very muchly good. Yeah.
His name is Seth, or no, I'm sorry. His name is Shane, by the way.
Shane.
Which,
okay, yes.
H-A, and the sound at the beginning, I was close with Chad.
I was not close with Jose.
No, not even close. Ends with an E, I guess.
If he got fired, but I'm pretty sure he would have been arrested.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just an accident.
There's a couple things in this episode. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's a couple things in this episode that I'm like, why didn't, like, you're right. He probably would have gotten arrested, even though he didn't throw him in front of the truck. Like, I think that's what he like kind of, he hits him once.
Yeah.
But then he only steps towards him threateningly and he falls over his own. I think that's why they kind of got away with that. The other thing is that, like, she had to get the no ad thing to not get fired from the school. At what point do you bring in a lawyer? Why can't you do a lawsuit to pretty much be like, I would lose my job to be in this tier. You've got to do this because it's keeping me alive,
I would assume that when he authorized the surgery, he probably signed a ton of waivers, and I'm sure a company that big has probably got mega lawyers that'll protect them. I mean, that's just kind of, I just assumed that.
It was a regional thing when they started, so maybe it wasn't so big. But I mean, you're right; it probably is a ton of lawyer stuff
because they know what they're doing, and they know that they're gonna need protection legally on their side.
Yeah.
And
law. Why do we even have a law? Those Purge movies, they had it right.
Well, I don't want to purge. I mean, I think everyone will admit the law sometimes is stupid.
Yeah.
There are absolutely times where common sense and the law does not match up.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. Look at you with the real take.
Yeah. But we see them going more and more desperate, more and more into despair, and like their life is just being ruined little by little in front of us as we watch.
Yeah. This is a hard episode to watch, and it's not hard because it's like specifically gory or stuff like that. There are a couple of Black Mirror episodes that are a little bit more implicit gore, but are a little harder to watch in that way, where it's like, ooh, I have a weak stomach. This one, it's a slow motion train wreck, and you're like, how can the ending of this be positive at all? You're just watching. For all intents and purposes, you're watching the life drain out of Amanda and subsequently Mike as well.
Yeah. And so then at the very end, is it too late to jump to this?
No, go for it.
So they're having like a nice weekend, and they can buy like booster packs where she can get like temporary boosts of the luxury max. So they do that. They're sitting there. He boosts up her calmness or her serenity, and she's saying like,
"Serenity now."
I knew you were going to say that. And she's saying like, it's time, and you should do it when I'm not here. And it's like, and this is where it's really good writing. They don't have to spell it out. We know what they're talking about. And then later on, he gets her all comfortable in bed, and there's like a countdown going. And at first, I thought this countdown was like countdown to she's gonna die. Like they're not even on the basic at that point. But then they're having this sweet moment, and it counts down. And what actually happens is it drops her back down to that tier, and she's laying in bed in the serious moment, and she starts talking about another ad. She's basically like, try Lexapro or whatever it is. And
this one, and is insult to injury, because it's like, are you depressed? Try this thing for your or counseling or medicine or whatever it is.
Yeah.
For feeling depressed. It's like, no, I'm depressed because my wife is a robot who sleeps for 16 hours a day and spews at me for 8.
Yeah. And this is where he takes the pillow and smothers her to death. And I knew it was going to end with her dying. I didn't know until then that he was going to have to physically do it himself that way.
Yeah. And it's a really, like, just the line to us, it's counting down, and he's saying goodbye to her and I love you and stuff like that. And then she goes into the ad thing, and his line is like, oh no, it's not already, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it's too soon. Like, he just wanted as much time as he could with her. And that's the heartbreak of this episode, because again, we go back to them on their anniversary. It doesn't matter what they were doing. They actually even laugh at how not good their anniversary tradition is, but they want to be together. They truly love each other. They truly love each other's company, and they only want time together with the other person.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other heartbreaking thing that they drive home with this too. Is there's something that symbolizes the hope of the relationship, because they don't have a baby yet. And they had been trying to get pregnant, and they hinted that early on and talk about how like they've been trying, and right now they're not going to be actively trying, but obviously they're not opposed to a child, and they really are excited for that day that comes. And they keep saying, we're hoping for a happy accident, but they're not like in that, oh, we're trying and we're calculating, we're making sure it's, so they are passively trying to have a kid this whole time. And they actually had bought a crib before we had even met these characters. They bought it in hopeful expectation that they're going to have a kid to put in this crib. And as time goes on, we keep hearing them hinted at that, like, someday this will happen. Someday this is our dream. We're going to get on the right side of this, and we're going to have a kid. And then we come to find out too, like, if they did have a baby while she was pregnant, their costs would go up because it changes the brain chemistry. And so they'd have to pay more for her to be pregnant. And like, that was one of like the last crushing blows they had. Yeah. And we had like another fast forward for almost a year. And it's that scene you're talking about where she's just at peace for 30 minutes and everything. But right before that scene, he has someone come to the door. He sold the crib on Craigslist to be able to pay for this extra 30 minutes. And so then, like, the writers of this episode don't give you anything. They don't give you anything, because he's like, well, just good luck with the baby. He's like, oh, we're not having a baby. We're going to use this for a music video. We're going to light it on fire. And it's just like the dream that he had is officially dead with him selling it, but then to get burned up and nothing used for that crib that he's had for years, that has been their hope to have the dreams, the goals that they've wanted as a couple. And instead he has to kill his wife, or Mercy kill his wife. So depressing. It's so sad. Yeah.
Thank you for putting this episode in Love Month, Matt.
Well, I did it. Obviously, like we said, this show accomplishes what it makes, what it meant to do. Mm-hmm. But it's such a good couple at the beginning, like, because there's such a real life love story. This is how people in love really are, that they really enjoy each other, and in with all of their flaws, with all their rough around the edges, they like the other person, they love the other person, and what happens when corporations try and monetize someone's life.
Mm. It really, I mean, this is it basically, it's just like her entire life is just, she essentially died early in the episode when she's in the hospital, because she's there, but she doesn't have her own autonomy in anything.
Yep. And then there's at the very end of the episode too, that it's a little ambiguous, but it almost implies, because after his wife dies, he goes back to where that one website is set up for streaming to people, and he's holding a box cutter, and he closes the door as he goes into that room, and it's like there's some sort of mutilation that's about to happen, and it's like, is it so far as he's going to kill himself in front of everyone, or is it not quite as depressing in that, as he's just, this is the only way he can get money to get out of this hole he's been in order to save her, or to have the time he had with her.
My only thought with that is, I don't know why he would kill himself on there, because the only reason he's on that website is for money. And if he's going to be dead and his wife's dead, why does he care about money?
I mean, I would put that as like blaming. That's like, it's their fault, especially this Shane's fault if he's still watching, to show Shane, hey, it's like, hey, this is what you did to me. And
oh yeah, that's true.
So there's that idea. Again, it's not logical, but at the same time, people who are feeling such strong negative emotions don't typically think in logic.
True. I mean, obviously, like, I've had ups and downs in my life. Not comparing, because I've not hit anywhere near the lows that they've had.
Yeah, and I didn't mean that to sound callous if it did. It's like, I've had bad times where I'm acting out of my emotions instead of out of my logic. We're not pointing fingers or blaming people who have depression. It's just,
no, not at all. No, not blaming. We're just saying, we, on a much, much smaller scale, we can relate.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up, there's this song called Common People. This episode is called Common People. There's a song called Common People by Pulp, and I just feel like that's the reason it was named this, because the song itself is talking, it is a love story. The person singing the song meets this girl, and this girl is like singing this chorus over and over of like talking about how she wants to live like common people. She wants to do what common people do. And so it's like, I just want to have a life that's normal. I want to live and experience the things of the human emotion. And as the song goes on, then it gets to a spot where just realizes where it says, you'll never live like common people do. You'll never do whatever common people do, never fail like common people, etc. And then it gets to like a bridge, and he says, you'll never understand how it feels to live your life with no meaning or control and with nowhere left to go. And I'm like, is that like, it's not like so one-to-one where this song encapsulates all of the things in the episode, but there is some poetry to it that feels like that's that thing, is like, we just want this common life. We want to know what it is to love each other and to be loved, the things that are basic human rights, and becoming a machine in our brain that stops us from truly actually living and knowing what it is to be normal, you know?
That sounds too on the nose to not be why they call the episode Common People.
Yeah. And that was my thought too. That's why I shared it. If we're making stuff up, then hey, we're making stuff up and it sounds pretty good. I think so.
If we're not making stuff up, that means we're exposing the subconscious correlation in their brains, because we're the smart ones.
Yeah. Charlie Booker, I don't know if he wrote it. He's the showrunner of Black Mirror, but he's written some episodes. I think he wrote this one.
Yeah.
So we talked about theming. We talked about last thing too that we kind of hit on was we talked about performances, and you said how Chris O'Dowd like really they all do a really good job. Yeah, Chris O'Dowd and Rashida Jones, obviously they carry this. They're really good, but let's not forget how just despicable Tracy Ellis Ross is as well. Oh, yeah. And so all three of them do a great job, but the vulnerability that O'Dowd and Jones have in their relationship they have kindness in their hearts through everything that they're saying. They have such compassion and caring for each other, even in their frustration, even in their hurt, and even in their anger. And I just think that they give some really good performances. I
Yeah.
know Rashida got nominated. I would have nominated both of those two
hmm
if it was up to me.
And it's funny as you're talking about Tracy Ellis Ross and her character. I just thought of this now. In the beginning of it, she says that this has been tested that she is herself has the same implant, like she at least she claims to be, right?
Yeah.
It never comes up again.
It comes up once after
does?
she gets yelled at in her office. She pulls up her app and turns up her like serenity or whatever to calm
Okay.
herself back down, or nonchalance. That's what she turns up.
Gotcha. Well, and I think another movie or series could have done is have it hinted at, like she is somehow like herself locked in, or she is also going through it as well, or I'd have like a moment where like it temporarily unlocks her and she says like get out now, and then this place is great, and then and gets back, which would have added an extra wrinkle to it. But I think it was almost better that they kept her like strictly the face of this organization.
Yeah. You kind of described the plot or the hook of Get Out for a second.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think there's stuff on the cutting room floor with her, because there easily could have been, with us seeing that she had gone through this before, there's a lot of doors you can open, whether she's like, to use a term I don't specifically like, but like an Uncle Tom, where she's selling out the other people that are going through things that she's going through, except for she gets the good side of it because she's like selling them out, kind of like Matthew the tax collector from the Chosen and from the Bible. Yeah. As like, you're selling out your fellow Jewish people, but you don't experience the same problems that they experience too. So there's that side of it. There's the side that you mentioned where it's like maybe she's just hostage herself, or maybe she's like very fully aware, but at the same time knows if she doesn't do what she's supposed to do, she could fall back into that same tier. So there's a lot of ways you could go about it, and it makes it interesting that she has the same thing in her brain,
Yeah.
And more so than just like, oh yeah, I had this myself, and like to not really actually have it, because there's also that possibility, although we again see her turn up the nonchalance on her thing. One thing that would actually be interesting to me is if she was lying about having that brain surgery, but does have the ability to like experience the positives of the Lex program, where it's like, oh, I want more excitement, I want more pleasure, I want more adrenaline, or like in one of their promos, like you can learn how to play tennis and you can just turn up your tennis ability and suddenly you have this tennis ability that other people had. So it'd be really interesting if she never had the problem side of it, but she gets to pull from people that do have that in their brain, and so it's just another way she's oppressing them. That's an interesting way to go about it if they, if you want to put that in your imagination.
It also opens up the door to the whole thing of, let's say you jump up, you do max out your skill level in something, and suddenly you're getting awards that people who have practiced and studied like 20 years of their life to, and like, how fair is that? I mean, that would be a whole, they wouldn't have time to get into all that.
No. Exactly. And that's what's great. So this is Black Mirror at its best, is it throws a technology in front of you that does have potential good implications, but also shines this mirror to humanity and shows how a depraved humanity might take this technology and use it for evil. The episode that Rashida Jones wrote, it's called Nosedive. It's very similar to the Community episode where everyone can rate each other.
Okay.
Meow Meow Beans or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's similar to that without the same insanity of like, oh, we created our own society or whatever.
I mean, that premise could be really dark. Of course, it's Greendale, so it's funny. But
yeah, exactly. And so they do have a darker premise with that, where it's like everyone's pretending, everyone's trying to get the 5 stars and for whatever, because you also get lesser privileges if you don't have certain amount of stars. So there
Mhm.
is all a society based on this rating system, and you rate every single interaction you have with people, and that affects your overall rating.
Is this Community or Black Mirror you're talking about?
This is Black Mirror, season 3. It's
Okay.
an episode called Nosedive, starring Bryce Dallas Howard.
Okay, because I mean, you're also just exactly describing that Community episode.
It is, and so like I said, Rashida Jones wrote that or co-wrote that episode.
The funny version of that one in Community, I remember the dean had the comment, 5s have lives, 4s have chores, 3s have fleas, 2s have blues, and 1s don't get a rhyme because they're garbage.
So I like Black Mirror overall. I would say, like, if you want to watch more Black Mirror but don't specifically care to watch it in order, I would say White Christmas is probably my favorite Black Mirror episode that stars John Hamm.
Okay.
And it kind of ends up being actually like 2 different stories, or maybe 3 different stories in one, but John Hamm is in most of them.
Okay.
So that's a great one to watch if you have time.
Yeah.
It's another one where it's like, oh, technology, yikes.
I'm definitely of the mind that not every technological advance should happen. It's the quote from Jurassic Park, you thought so much about if you could, you didn't stop to think if you should.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm all for technology and advancing, but not everything should just be do it if you can, in my opinion.
Yeah. And along the lines of that Jurassic Park quote, the other thing that he says with that is it didn't take discipline to get those breakthroughs, because right now the technology that we have is moving so fast, we've lost the patience and the discipline in how we pursue these technologies, and we're just so quick to get whatever is out first. Like right now, even AI, there's plenty of ways that AI can help, but obviously we've seen plenty of ways that we're afraid of AI taking jobs, or AI faking things that that don't know if they're true or not. And so now it's like any politician can create an AI video of their rival politician, say, look at how terrible this person is. And the AI is so close to being so realistic that we're not going to know what to believe anymore. And we already have a problem with misinformation. And so we have a tech crisis on our hands to begin with. Not to be negative, this is a happy month. Happy Valentine's Day. Hope you love your loved ones. It's great. Life is good. But tech is scary, and for good reason.
No, fully agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah. Now, I want to hear from you youngsters, guy. Look, I know I'm old. I'm 37, and I think we both are 37, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I know that because we're a week apart. So I know that we're older than a lot of people that might listen to this. I want to hear like what some 20-year-olds have to say, because I know that there's some that are younger. They're like, I'm so excited about this. I know how to use technology. I've got it down. I'm not afraid of it. And I know that the older generations are historically the ones who are afraid of what technology is going to do. So I don't know if we're just ringing this bell that you 19-year-olds are like, you guys are the Muppet, the Stanler and Waldorf. Wow. Go ahead. You say their names. I ran out of words.
Statler and Waldorf.
Thank you.
Well, I think there's 2 sides of it, because like on the younger side, I feel like you shouldn't be so reliant on technology that you can't fix. Like you should learn from older generations. But then on the other side, the older generations, it's like some people think of it as a badge of honor. Like, I never had that, and I'm better than you because I didn't have that. Like, no, it's good that there's new technology and more advancement. So it's like it's both sides. It's like respect the past, but also the future is good.
When I was your age, we died of polio like men. You sissies are too soft nowadays. Like, all right, sorry that we don't have your old person diseases. We've got our new ones. We came up with COVID, and look at how cool that is.
Yeah. And well, even like in our generations, like Matt, and when you were like 1st or 2nd grade, did all of your teachers say, you're going to have to write all of your papers in college in cursive?
Probably.
Yep. I remember hearing
I tuned them out, so I don't really know.
I remember that saying, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have to write in cursive every day of your life because it's not like they're giving computers every day."
Hey, Mr. Math Teacher, can I use a calculator? You're not always going to have a calculator with you everywhere you go. Well, proved you wrong, didn't I?
I mean, imagine going back to like 1982 and saying like, "Oh yeah, here's what you have to have with you: a phone, a calculator, a day planner, and oh, you have to have all. Oh, it's just one little thing."
Oh, and every piece of written history of all of mankind ever written down. All of it at once.
I'm almost sure this is right, but if I'm wrong, this is why it's not our trivia. And it has nothing to do with this episode. But I heard, you know what inspired the invention of Google image search? Because Google had been around, but they didn't have the image search yet.
What did?
That dress that Jennifer Lopez wore, where it's basically just two like completely open, like an open robe dress thing that she wore, that green one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
it was word for
it. I mean, it's everything's covered, but it's like it looks like she's like one move away from displaying everything, and it was like, oh my gosh, look at that dress she's wearing. And
those are my favorite kind of dresses that I wear.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, I'm sure you look fabulous in this dress.
Thank you. I'm like, oh, I moved the wrong way. Now y'all see my belly button. I don't know, man.
I'm sure there are listeners who know the dress I'm talking about. And of course that would be what inspires people to invent Google image search.
I read an article like 10 years ago. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even. I read an article 10 years ago talking about how much the porn industry has moved forward technology. And I'm like, this isn't good, but it also makes sense.
It's like, could we have had the same technology with a different inspiration?
Let's make our phones smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Hey, you can look at naked images on your phone. Let's make them bigger and bigger and bigger. There's a point when it went from the tiniest phone to like now my phone is a flip phone, and it's like it unfolds into half a tablet pretty much. That's not the reason I got it, guys. All right. Yeah, I see you. Judge me out there, Monica. I don't know if we have a Monica who listens, but she knows. She needs to be warned.
She knows. Yeah. Or how about the fact that this is a podcast, and podcast was named for the iPod, which is like flipped in and out of existence in like what 15 years.
And obviously there's so many of those like, hey, why is the save file that little the save icon a little square with like a low taper fade haircut? Like, no, that's a floppy disk. What's a floppy disk? Never mind. Go back to bed.
There was a floppy disk, and then there was the hard versions that weren't floppy, but they still called them floppy disks.
Floppy disks are better when they're floppy.
I didn't know what joke, but I knew there was a joke coming, so I figured I'd let you have your moment.
That felt like a Chevy Chase Community one, where it's like, Urza Kit! You know, like, where he doesn't know what the joke is, but just, like, wants to get it out there, so just yell something.
Yeah.
Floppy disk! Got it. All right, well, common people, you know? I don't know if I had anything else to share about this. So, after watching this episode, how likely are you to watch another Black Mirror episode?
I am likely to watch it, but I am still in the middle of, I'm still trying to watch some new things so I have more things to talk about when we talk about the best of 2026 in a year. And I'm also still plugging away and slowly watching through Seinfeld because I wanted to complete that.
Nice. We're watching through Everybody Loves Raymond because we watched the reunion special, and we're like, this was a great show. It's been a while. Let's watch it again.
Yeah. And me and Sabrina finished Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and now we're on to Another Life.
Wow. Seeing Another Life, brother.
Yeah.
Guys, before we close, before we get done, I just want to brag. I'm excited because right now, well, not right now because we record this in the past, but real Matt, future Matt, is on vacation right now, having the time of his life, either in Florida or Florida. I'm either in Florida or I'm on a cruise.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's good times. I was going to start off the episode that way, but life is depressing, and so we had to talk about a very depressing episode. As I was watching through it again this time, I was like, why am I watching this again? The first time I watched it was like hard enough, and this time watching it's what makes it so hard is how possible it is, and that's tough to swallow.
It is. Oh, for sure.
So, but hey, let's have hope. We've got better hope than that. Everyone's been talking about World War III since I was a teen. So, we haven't hit that yet. We made it through a bunch of economic stock market crashes. We made it through COVID. We made it through the name a presidency of someone you don't like. We made it through the Trump years. We made it through the Biden years. We made it through the Obama years, the Bush years, whatever. We've made it through a lot of stuff. Okay, guys, we're gonna press on.
Yep. And I don't have anything to add to that.
Thanks for the inspiration, Brian. Salute. All right. And that's it for Thank you. That's it for Common People. Watch that episode if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, I have no freaking idea why you listen to all of this and haven't watched it. We ruin them. That's what we do. Okay.
Yeah.
So listen to that. Go watch it. If you haven't watched other Black Mirror episodes, go watch that. And let's get into trivia.
Yeah, so last week we talked about our best will they, won't they relationships. And I asked, in the pilot of Friends, what is the snack that Ross and Rachel share? And that was Oreos.
Oreos. All right. I don't know. Sorry. That's a Wreck-It Ralph reference.
That's a Wizard of Oz reference.
No, it's a Wreck-It Ralph reference referencing Wizard of Oz. It's a reference within a reference. That's like 16 walls. All right. So, so this week we had a very small cast for this episode. You got some of the background actors and a couple people with lines, but really it's the main three. You got Chris O'Dowd, Rashida Jones, and Tracy Ellis Ross. Two of those actors are related to very popular music legends. So what are those two legends that they are related to? And we'll tell you next time when we talk about Stranger Things. Boom. Okay. Sorry. Christopher Nolan just walked in and he did that and he left. It was weird.
I will say I've been refraining from talking to Matt about my Stranger Things opinions because I want to save it for the podcast. But I have a lot of opinions and you'll hear them all next week.
Did you know the actor who plays Delightful Derek is a Bears fan? And I found that out when the Bears were doing well last month and winning. I know I said, hey, the Bears are going to be in the Super Bowl. And they're not. But they came close, man. They came close. They were like one bad play away. They're like 15 yards away to be able to kick a field goal and win. And just DJ Moore, man. DJ Moore. Weird thing to say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching. Happy Valentine's Day. Go love your person you're with.
Yeah.